What up? That's how my friend Jeff always calls up, and that's his greeting on the phone. And I absolutely love it because why not start off with some enthusiasm? So I'm sorry that I don't have a better angle for the camera, but um, there's a lot of high counters, and there's nobody here to help me. And I'm trying to be true to my word, and I said I'd get this video out, so if you can put up with the angle, I'm happy to have you here. Well, today I want to talk about addictions, something that I am extraordinarily familiar with because I happen to have a very addictive personality. I started when I was young, and it started with chocolate. We tend to love things that make us happy, that make us feel good, that you know, if our body and our mouths get all that happy feeling, then why not want it more and more and more? Um, and it's kind of innocent when it's chocolate and you're young, but as you get older, sometimes these desires that we have can add up and start to be harmful for us. For example, if I had chocolate every single day, all day long, I would be huge and I would be very unhealthy. But I think it kind of starts with that kind of mentality of I want what I want, I want it, I want it, I want it. And I remember as I got older and, I started learning about cigarettes and drugs and, obviously when you're young, you tell yourself, oh no, I'm never going to do drugs, I'm never going to smoke. And I even I even wrote a essay about one of the officers in my town and how he was my hero and how I looked up to him and how he taught me so much. And then as soon as I got into middle school, and all of a sudden, image became very important to me, and uh, kids, they were a little cruel. Teenage boys are some of the cruelest people on the planet because they want to show off, they want to impress their friends, they want to feel better about themselves, and at times they can kick some people down in the process. But what happened with me was I didn't feel a strong sense of acceptance from uh, a lot of people, and it was, I think, mainly in my head because as I found out later, there were a lot of people that liked me or wanted to be friends with me, but I just had it built up in my head that everybody was out to get me. So what happened was I tended, oh, whatever. I I found myself being drawn towards the bad kids, um, the rebels, the outcasts, because I felt very much like an outcast, and it felt comfortable for me to be around people that didn't judge me, that didn't criticize me, didn't make fun of me. Um, I was one of the boys, and unfortunately, a lot of the bad kids tend to not bad kids. There's no bad kids. It's just that the rebels, the kids who were trying to, you know, jump to being an adult before they became an adult, much like myself. Um, so I gravitated to them for two reasons. One, they made me feel comfortable, and two, I also wanted to jump to being an adult because, as some of you know, some of you don't, I have muscular dystrophy. And when I was young, the doctors pretty much told me you might die in your 20s. So at 11 and 12 years old, I was at my midlife crisis, if you think of it that way. And I thought, if I'm not even going to freaking make it to be 21 years old, why not have all the fun that I can right now? And it started with cigarettes and very quickly became weed and alcohol and cocaine and mushrooms and ketamine, ecstasy, painkillers, and a lot of other things. Um, I was lost, and at a certain point, feeling high or fucked up or in any state besides me being Mike Oliveri with muscular dystrophy was preferable. And I remember with the cigarettes, me and my friends used to call it the Golden Pen Club, and we felt cool that way, and I felt like I was part of something. And we always tend to justify our addictions. Oh, I smoke because it makes me feel calm, it relaxes me. But what did you do before you smoked cigarettes? You were fine. I was fine. But sometimes we identify with our addictions so much that we think that it's us. Don't try and put me down. Who I am as a smoker, who I am as a drinker, who I am as, I any drug really. I mean, I have seen a lot of people just justify it, and I did the same thing. And when I was 12, I started out with cigarettes, and it didn't take long before I was up to cocaine by about 15. I was heavily doing ecstasy by 14, 15, and I had my reasons. So I did ecstasy because when I was 14, 15 years old, my body was weak and I had trouble walking. But for some strange, odd reason, and I have no idea why, every time I took a pill of E, it would give me such an energy boost that I would start running. And my friends didn't believe me, and I remember I was doing E at a school function in Riverdale, Battle of the Bands or something, and I showed my friends, like, look, man, look, I can run. And I literally started running. And I was trying to convince them. I was trying to validate it by telling them, well, look, I have the reason why I'm doing it, because in my mind I was justified. But my friends didn't all accept that, and I ended up losing almost all of my friends. I lost my girlfriend at the time. I lost everybody, and the only thing that I found were people that did want to do drugs with me, far and few between. And that's kind of how I bounced around with friends. You find friends that do things similar to you, and I smoked a lot of weed, and I like to drink, and I like to be as far gone as possible, and I found as many people to stay far gone with as possible. I was so addicted to feeling fucked up that I had done so much drinking, so much, maybe the cigarettes didn't really help my stomach, but so much ecstasy, so much drinking, so much garbage that I had an ulcer by the time I was 15 years old. And on top of that, I had physical pain from my disability and a lot of emotional pain. And I had started doing opiates. It started out with painkillers, Percocet, Vicodin. And it worked its way up to the painkiller patch, which was essentially a morphine patch that I kept on my body, and I replaced it every 72 hours at first, and then every 48 hours because I wasn't feeling high enough. And I kept on justifying it by telling my doctors I still feel pain, my back hurts, and while this was all true, the pain that I was really feeling was emotional pain, and I was trying to drown it out. I was trying to just look, I didn't want to be me from a very, very young age, because the way I was told my life was going to go, which was, you're not going to walk forever, you're going to be in a wheelchair for a long time, and you might die in your early 20s. I said, fuck that. Why the hell would I ever want that existence? Why would I ever choose that? And if I can't choose that, I might as well choose as much fun as possible. So my focus from a very young age was literally just to feel good, but feel good in my mind, which meant as long as I wasn't thinking about this doomed future that I had, I was okay. And we're tough. Our bodies are resilient. Our bodies are really freaking strong. But I found myself at 20 years old. I had been on the painkillers for many years, since I was about 14, and I stopped doing drugs for a little stint around 18 years old because I was dating a girl at the time, and for once I had found someone whose drug problem was worse than mine was, and she had actually inspired me to stop kind of doing all the other drugs. However, I found myself still taking the painkillers and still smoking, which smoking didn't really do too much negative harm to me in the past. It's a natural, it's not that harmful to the body. It can be very harmful for someone that's easily distracted or someone who's not motivated, but marijuana has played a huge part in my life over the years, and I'm very thankful for it. But I found myself at 20 years old visiting my family in Egypt because my mom is Egyptian. So we were there around Christmas time, and I was used to not going to the bathroom. It was averaging about once a week or once every 2 weeks. And this was a result of, when I say go to the bathroom, I mean take a shit. I don't mean pee. That would be intense. But every 2 weeks I would go to the bathroom. And I liked that. And I know you think, why the hell would you like that? But it was hard for me to stand up. And it was really exhausting. So for me to not have to, I was going to college at the time. I was going to Bergen Community College. And to go to the bathroom, I had to transfer myself from my wheelchair, over to the toilet. And that was fine. But getting back up from the toilet required a lot of strength. So for me, I avoided it as much as possible. And this once every 2 weeks bathroom was really no problem for me. But I found myself not going to the bathroom for 3 weeks. And all of a sudden, I got 104 fever. And I started to feel like death. And we were starting to research, nope, Sadie, no barking. We were starting to research ways to get home to America, but the doctor said, you might not make it. If I put you on a plane right now and send you to New Jersey from Egypt, you might die, just because I was literally being poisoned by my intestine, by everything that was inside my body, all of this 3 weeks of shit. And they had to rush me to the hospital, and it wasn't the best hospital, as you can imagine. Nothing against Egypt, but it's definitely a different world than America. Nobody was wearing the proper clothes. It looked like I was just walking into an apartment building. However, they saved my life. They essentially removed a baby from me. I had 3.7 kilos of death inside me that was poisoning me from the inside out. And I remember this real moment where my mom came to me, and I had just woken up, and I said, Mom, if I died, you would have had to write death from fecal poisoning due to opiates, due to morphine. Essentially, cause of death, morphine. And this was at 20 years old, which was my supposed time of death that the doctors, had told me I would make it to. And this was a really important moment in my life, because I had gotten a second chance. I I had gotten an opportunity to keep living or keep doing what I was doing. And that was the first time in my life I was really faced with paying the price for, I had an ulcer at 15 from drinking and drugs too much, but that didn't really stop me from living. That just didn't let me eat as much tomato sauce pasta or orange juice because acidity hurt my stomach. But at 20 years old now, I got to make a choice of keep medicating, keep numbing myself with morphine and everything else, or take care of my body. Instead of feeling good in my mind, feel good in my body. And this was a strange concept because I didn't think it was possible. I didn't think I could handle it. But that's also an addiction, is sometimes we can be addicted to negative thoughts. We can be addicted to thoughts that don't empower us. And I think sometimes we believe those thoughts because at least we can feel correct about it. Like if we don't think we can do it and we don't do it, then we're right, as opposed to risking being wrong and getting a better result. So I started changing my attitude, and I decided to tell myself, you know what? I'm going to get off these drugs. I'm going to get off the morphine. And I spent 8 months vomiting, sweating, hot, cold, going through hell, and letting these drugs slowly leave my body. And it was just about a year I dedicated to that. And I remember getting off of it. I had felt the same amount of pain that I did being on the highest dose. And eventually, you start to build up a tolerance for pain, and you start to develop thick skin. And I didn't really know that was possible, but I started just using my mind and trying to overpower my body. And I really started strengthening my mind from that point, because I decided, well, I'm going to tell myself what I can handle and what I can't handle. And that has made all the difference in my life. Now, never mind my addiction to illegal drugs and painkillers, but another addiction that I really had a hard time with was the benzos. And I have a separate video on that I have up. It's one of my most watched videos, actually. And that was my benzo video, because I had started taking Xanax probably around 16, 17, maybe 18 years old, and I couldn't sleep at night. And part of the belief was that I told myself I couldn't sleep. I told myself, because I had a couple bad nights, I decided, well, I can't sleep. And I told myself, I need this. I need a pill to go to sleep. So what happened was I started taking 1 milligram, and after a year, it stops being as effective, and you need to take 2 and 3 and 4, and by the time I found myself at 30 years old, I was up to 12 milligrams a night of 8 milligrams Klonopin and 4 milligrams of Xanax. And I slept. Believe me, I slept like a champion. But I was having conversations with people at night and fighting with them and not remembering them. And I was starting to lose friends. And I was angry because it created these mood swings where I would just be hostile and just furious. And, this was also at a point in my life where I was very stressed out, and I had a guy come into my life who was a friend, and, he did some things that caused me a lot of stress. He tried to disrupt my life as much as possible. And he's also someone who had saved my life at some point previous to that. But, things change. And because of this man, I went into such a depression and stress-ridden existence that I lost my ability to eat. And I was eating out of a feeding tube, and then eating out of TPN and coming out of my bicep. There's a little tube where they give you synthetic foods. And I had found myself holding on to anger not being able to eat, still taking this medication that I knew wasn't 100% good for me. And I was, and you know, when you keep doing something for so long, and then eventually you realize this shit ain't working. And you have to try something else, because if you don't, you know what you're going to get. You're going to get more of the same. And, you know, I looked online and it looked scary as hell. And people were saying, oh my God, I feel crazy and I feel nuts and I don't feel like myself. And a lot of people commit suicide. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to write my own fucking story about this shit. I am going to tell myself how I'm going to do it. My body's tough. I have been through hell. And I might have disease and I might have muscular dystrophy, but I am tough. I told myself this. I said, I don't want to keep going down that road. I know where that road leads. Ignoring things and taking a pill just so I can go to sleep and let everything go away. I had to clean up my life. I had to make changes. And it was scary, but I wanted it. I wanted it so badly. I wanted to be able to think clear. I wanted to be able to feel good. I wanted my mind back. I wanted my friendships back. I wanted the chance to stop running away and to really live. And it took me, I would say, a good 3.5 years. It took me 3 months to get off the pills, and then another 2.5, 3 years just to get my mind back. And it was not easy. My dog played a huge role in it because she forced me to get back out of the house. And I have some incredible friends who have never turned their back on me. I have some incredible friends here that were here for me and supported me. And my mother was a huge part of my recovery as well, because she was here at my side. And, you know, although she couldn't do very much, she just held my hand and, you know, rubbed my back and let me know that I had love. And you know what? It was so worth it. I have never felt happier. I have never felt more at peace. My mind is mine. And, you know, I like I said, I still use cannabis throughout, you know, the years in the past, and cannabis helped me through my withdrawal in a huge way. Cannabis helped me when I had finished my opiate withdrawal when I was 20, and allowed me to eat for all those years because I was left with such a damaged stomach. And I'm no longer an addictive person. Not because anything physiologically has changed within me, but because I have learned what being addicted to something can do. You know, there's people who are addicted to food and they're so out of shape and they hate the way they feel. And they hate the way that they do things, but they do it anyway, and they don't make a change because they don't think it's possible for themselves. When I lived in New Jersey, I was addicted to thinking I couldn't do anything. I'm not going to have an independent life. And then one day I got so freaking mad, so depressed. I said, I don't care if I try and fail, if I just keep sitting here in my room watching MTV, watching HBO, finding another show to fucking pass the time, I'm never going to know if I can or if I can't, or if I'm just psyching myself out. And that's so much of what we do. And, you know, like Wayne Dyer says, your reality creates your mentality creates your reality. And your mentality is the most important thing in your life. If you tell yourself you can't handle something, you won't be able to. If you tell yourself you can, you may stumble, but you'll get through it. And I think people are afraid of stumbling because they think stumbling means that they didn't do it. No. Stumbling means you're trying. You have to fail your way to success. And I had to figure that out the hard way. I had to make countless mistake after countless mistake But I had to make a decision, and that decision came from love. A lot of the things I did in my life, I didn't do for love. I did for want. I did for desire. I did for I gotta take what's mine. I gotta do it. I gotta do it right now because I wanted it. And now I love my mind. I love my body. I want to be the oldest person with muscular dystrophy ever. And I've already outlived a lot of people that I grew up with. A lot of those kids that were in that bad crew that I looked up to, a lot of them are dead. Heroin, opiate abuse. I am the one with the low expectation for life, according to the doctors, and I'm still here at 33 years old. And I wish that they had somebody to show them a better way. I wish that they had someone to stop them. I wish that they had someone to love them, or I wish they loved themselves enough to where they could want something good for themselves, not just so they can feel good temporarily. Because it never lasts. The high never lasts. And it's never worth it. Yeah, I've had a lot of fun laughs and good experience doing drugs. I mean, but I've had a lot more meaningfulness happen in my life since I've been sober. I've had a lot more relationships and friendships and conversations that have led me and taught me so much about myself and so much about where I want to go. And you know, everybody's hurting. And I think that's a lot of the reason why we have our addictions, is because we're sad, we're not happy, and we want to have some part of us that can be. Even if it just feels that tiny bit better. Fuck it, man, it's worth it. If I can just hit this tonight and just go to sleep, man, it's all good. And I used to say that too. And I felt so justified. You don't know what it's like, man. I have a disease. I'm in pain. My back, my arms, my muscles, my emotions. I felt sorry for myself. And I justified every negative thing I did for myself. And I don't know what you're going through. I don't know what you're struggling with. It might be a benzo, it might be heroin, it might be cocaine, it might be any of those things. And it might be diet. And I just want to encourage everybody, because this is going on 28 minutes now, but I don't really care. I want to encourage you to think about what you really want. And I don't give a shit what anybody told you. I don't care what statistics say. I don't care what's written down for years. I don't care. And you shouldn't either. You make the rules in your life. You write the book. You write the story. You tell yourself how it's going to be. If you say you can do it, you'll be able to do it. It'll hurt. There'll be times where you feel like, this shit sucks, man. I don't know if I could do this. Your body was built strong for a reason, to get you through whatever you need to get through in life. Trust yourself. Love yourself. And please, please, please don't ever believe your weakness. I did that for too long. I listened to everybody's opinion and I took it as law. And now I'm writing the book. I'm deciding how things are going to go. I'm going to have an incredible life. I'm going to be healthy. I'm going to make a lot of money in this world. I am going to be free to take my dog in a private plane anywhere in the world. I want that possibility for myself. And I don't know what it is for you. But I really hope you don't give up. Because life is worth it. All those goals and dreams that you have are worth it, but you got to go for it. You have to try. And reach out for someone. If you need help, reach out. There's somebody out there that will help you. Even if it's just a random person, just start up a conversation. You'll find that people are supportive. If you look for support, if you believe there's help out there, if you believe there's people that will help you along your journey, then guess what? The universe will hear you thinking about that and put those people in your place. Sometimes all you have to do is just ask. And if the universe sees you trying, it'll throw you a bone. It'll make it a little bit easier. Addictions are some of the scariest thing in the world, but your mind is the most powerful thing in the world. And whatever you tell yourself you can do, I promise you, it'll happen. I'm going to go, but this is Mikey Wheels, or Mike Oliveri. I don't ever do this, but if you got any value out of this video, please give it a thumbs up and maybe a subscribe, because it all helps me in the end. And try to be there for someone. Always listen. If you hear someone's in need, help them out. Lend them an ear, because you don't know what your support could do for them. It might just save their life. Love you guys. Thanks for being patient with me.